The year is 1898, and underneath Siberia, a gigantic cavern is discovered the size of Australia, packed to the gills with strange and unusual wildlife, botanical wonders never seen before, geological formations out of a fantasy novel. The scientific community gets itself into a bit of an uproar, convenes a big symposium in Paris, and sends several of their leading world experts out to this new area known only as Vivarium. Vivarium is a set collecting game with a wonderful domino-themed twist for 2 to 4 players, designed by Frederick Vognert with artwork by Satoshi Matsuura. This is one of my new favourite games, and I want to explain to you all today why. And spoiler alert, it's not just because of these delightful little pieces, but the actual game that lies beneath it all. The setup for Vivarium is really simple. Unfold the central board, pop it in the centre of the table, and fill each of the sectors of the board in this 4x4 grid with 2 rows from the wildlife deck, 1 row from the equipment deck, and 1 row from the contracts deck. Each player then has both 1 type contract and 1 colour contract that they'll start the game with and have a vague idea of how they might want to score points. As the game goes on, they'll be collecting different animals from this area, different pieces of equipment from the central area, and possibly adding new contracts to score more victory points at the end of the game. Before we go any further into this review, I need to talk about the component quality with you all, because Studio H have outdone themselves by an absolute landslide. Probably not a good thing when you're in a cave, but there we go. The cardstock, for starters, is just delightful. It is soft and supple and really quite thick. Good quality cardboard that's not going to just damage itself the first couple of times you've played it. I've played this game a lot, and you can see there's almost no damage to the cards whatsoever. We've got these wonderful little plastic gemstones that just could have been cardboard tokens, but there's something just really nice about that little clatter and roll as these move around the table. And then there are the dominoes. Now, I've recently come to terms with the fact that I'm autistic, but for me, the day I picked this up, I opened this box and I just started rubbing my thumb over these dominoes, and I sat watching stuff on YouTube for a couple of hours, just sitting there fiddling and playing. These are honestly one of the nicest gaming components I have ever had in any board game ever. And even the central board, it is delightfully illustrated, beautiful artwork. It's just wonderful. But of course, components are only half the story, probably arguably not even that much. How does it play? In addition to the contract cards, each player is going to have 2 dominoes issued to them at the start of the game, with 1 kept in the centre of the board for swapping, as we'll see. During your turn, you must swap one of your 2 dominoes with the one from the centre of the table. It's up to you which one you use. In this case, we're going to swap here, and we can then use these to create any grid reference. This could therefore be 3-4 or 4-3, 1-2 or 2-1. You even turn it up the other way and make it 2-4, 4-2, 3-1, or 1-3. This corresponds to the grid references on the board. So in this case, we could go for 1-2, which would be this card here. Now, by taking this one, this actually works quite nicely with the contract this player has already got at the start of the game. There's going to be 1 point for every desert-themed card, and 1 point for every dragon-themed card. So already, we're off to a really good start. But of course, you could also go for more contracts, allowing you to gain additional victory points for the different cards you've chosen, different bits of equipment that allow you to do different things in the game, and of course, a plethora of different creatures to catalogue and identify. Once a player has taken their turn, play passes to the left, and now the next player must swap one of their dominoes with the one that was left in the centre. And so on, this goes around and around the board until everyone has taken 2 turns. This is why I love the turn marker in this. You pass this around to everyone, and when it comes back to you, you flip it round, and you've got the 2 there to let you know you're on your second turn. Once everyone has taken 2 cards from the centre, then you refill the board and proceed to the next round, passing the first player token to the left and continuing. It should be noted, if you can't take a card, which is extraordinarily rare, or if you choose not to, you can always take one of the gems instead. But what do the gems even do, other than feel great in your hand and make wonderful little clattery noises as you drop them on the table? Well, imagine you're looking at your dominoes and you just can't quite get what you need. You've got a 3-1 or a 1-3, but you really wanted either a 2-3 or a 3-2 or something like that. You can spend one of your gems, returning it to the central pile, to modify one of your dominoes by a single point, allowing you to grab that card that you really want, but your dominoes wouldn't quite allow you to do. They're also worth bonus victory points at the end of the game. Now, on the subject of points, it's not just the different contracts that are going to get you those, or the gems that you have in your supply at the end. Indeed, each of the creatures also has a victory point total in the bottom right of its card, and they're just worth these as raw points at the very end of the game. In addition, every turn after the first is going to have one of these little tokens. These give you additional bonuses at the end of each turn. In this case, every time someone claims either a rock or a dragon-type creature, as denoted by these symbols on the cards here, they will also gain a gem immediately. And at the end of the round, the person with the most of these will claim this card, worth 2 victory points at the end of the game. This does also apply for stuff that you've collected in previous turns, meaning later on in the game, if for example this plant and dragon one had been revealed, I may not draw any plants or dragons in my turn, but if I have the highest total of those at the end, I still get those 2 points. Of course, beyond this, we have the different contracts, as I've already mentioned down here, which are going to give you additional bonuses. For example, this one here, for every set of frost and mountain creatures that I have, had to think of the colours there, blue and red background creatures, like these two, I will gain 2 victory points if I have 1 set, 5 if I have 2 sets, 9 if I have 3 sets, and 14 points if I manage to get 4 sets of blue and red creatures. Some of them are related to the equipment. This one, for example, will give us 3 victory points for every compass that we have in our set. So let's talk about the equipment cards, shall we? The equipment cards either act immediately upon you drawing them, or give you bonuses at the end of the game. For example here, the wineskin, during the final scoring, this gives you the 2 types depicted, which can really help with your contract. You get a gem immediately on claiming it, and of course, if you have a contract to have as many books as possible, it's going to apply towards that. The binoculars are an interesting one. Not only do you immediately draw these, which may give you bonuses for your contracts based on the symbol, but you can immediately discard a gem to gain the card above, below, to the left, or to the right of it, allowing you to essentially take 2 cards in 1 turn, which can be very powerful. The bag, during the final scoring, it gives you 1 colour of your choice, again, great for contracts. The map gains 3 gems immediately, 3 victory points at the end of the game, or just that ability to, again, start counting towards more compass symbols. I'm not going to go through all of these, but they are really quite powerful, and they do add some really unusual effects to the game. They're one of those things I think it's easy to miss in the first time that you play through, but once you play a few rounds, people are suddenly like, oh, these are really powerful. Maybe I should be using these more. And that's kind of all there is to Vivarium. Players take their 2 turns, picking the cards they want, so a total of 8 cards are going to disappear from this, plus or minus a few based on the equipment, like for example we were talking about the binoculars earlier. Then at the end of the round, these all refill into their different rows, and the token moves to show that it is moving on to the next turn, obviously giving these tokens to whoever has won it for that round. At the end of the 7th turn, you will have given away the last of these tokens to the player that's earned it, and therefore it's very easy to spot when the game ends. At that point, players total up the victory points they've earned for their creatures, just by counting the numbers on the bottom of the cards and adding them together. They then look at their contracts and they total up any victory points they'd have for those, adding in any victory points for any gems they still have left over. There's a neat little score pad included in the box as well that's going to help you keep a token of this, and it's a very straightforward and fast game. An entire round of Vivarium, even at 4 players, takes about 30 minutes, which is very quick and easy to set up, have a round, tear it down, and then go again. It's very easy to teach, very fast to play, and I just love the artwork on this. There's also just enough thinking going on. Do I just want to take this guy because he's got 3 victory points, even though he doesn't really help any of my particular contracts? Or do I consider going, oh, I could probably use this contract. I've got quite a few blue cards already, and I've got 1 or 2 reds. Maybe that would be useful for me to have. Or perhaps one of these pieces of equipment might help me start scoring some points. You're going to get to take 2 cards every single turn, but of course other players have the opportunity to take those cards too, which can be incredibly frustrating. If, for example, you're sitting there going, I really want that desert dragon, and the first player just goes, yoink. That's really frustrating, and it does mean there is an element of hate drafting to this. If you can kind of see that your opponents are collecting lots of creatures of one particular type or colour, you might decide just to take that for its raw victory points. I mean, that dragon alone, 2 points. Not only do I think I've screwed my opponent over, but I've got 2 points. Again, I cannot overstate how delightful these dominoes are just to the touch. Oh, that is just so satisfying. Like, I know it's probably weird that I'm spending so much time and energy focused on these particular tiles. They just really do feel that good. Vivarium for me was a spur-of-the-moment purchase. I looked at it, I really liked the artwork, the theme seemed unusual, and one of my friends said, you haven't felt the dominoes in this. They're amazing. And so I thought, you know what, let's take a gamble. £20? Yeah, I'll do it. I grabbed the box, I tore it open, I fell in love with the dominoes, I couldn't wait to get it to a table, I played it the very next day, and about 5 rounds later, we finally put it back in the box. Now, if that's not something that will sell you on this game, I don't know what will. It is 2 to 4 players. 4 players does work really well. 3 players works really well. At 2 players, you do have a slightly different setup, where essentially there is a domino in the center of the table that gets used to help cycle some of the other cards. So some of these cards will disappear from that central area of the board as well, just simulating the fact that in a 3 or 4 player game, more of these cards are going to disappear, keeping things on their toes for the 2 players. And I actually really like that. It works so well as a duel, but all the way up to 4 players, this game is fantastic. So at this point in the video, I always ask the question, does Vivarium join our crew, or do we make it walk the plank? And this is a no-brainer for me. I love this game. If set collection card games are your thing with sort of cute fantasy-style artwork, this is just right up there. I could not believe how cheap this was with the quality of components, and the fact that the game underneath it is fast, thinky, and really straightforward to teach as well. Hell yes. I will be delving into that Vivarium time and time and time and time again, and I hope that from this, maybe you'll give this a go as well. And if you do, let me know in the comment section down below what you think of Vivarium. Am I obsessing over these, or do you think that, yeah, actually, these are some of the coolest pieces ever? Like, they are so smooth, but with just a little bit of rough. They're like pebbles. Oh, so satisfying. I love it. I love it. And maybe I'm a little bit weird for that, but I'll embrace that. Anyway, folks, if you want to keep me doing stuff like this, and I don't mean, just grinning wildly whilst running my thumb over little plastic tokens, I mean things like video reviews and talking about board games, one of my favourite hobbies out there, then please do hit like on this video, drop a comment down below letting me know what you think. Really helps me out, as it helps to basically teach YouTube that people are enjoying my content, show it to more people. And if you do want to go the extra mile to help support me, head across to my Patreon page or my PayPal tip jar. Both of those things really help me keep making content. And special thanks as well to the guys here at Chaos Cards for letting me use their back room to record my content. If you do decide to pick this up, I've put a link to their website in the description down below so you can grab it direct from the same people that I grab it from and help support a really cool business. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching, happy sailing, and see you all next time. Oh, so satisfying.